We will now move to the formal business of the meeting. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There has been an accident on Avril, so there are a few members who we are expecting who have not yet arrived. But apologies that we've received so far for tonight's meeting come from Councillors David Arrowsmith, Robert Leigh, Frank Carmichael, Jim Churton, Keith Cunliffe, Michael Dewhurst, Shirley Dewhurst, Jim Ellis, Debbie Fairhurst, Jim Moody and Mary Morgan. Are there any further apologies for this evening's meeting? Mr. John Holt, any further apologies? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Appointment of Most Consort. This item will be referred to after the messages of condolence at items 4A and 4B. Item 3. Minutes of the meeting held on 24th of September 2014. I invite the leader to move the acceptance of the minutes.
Last week before I think I moved it first.
They need to be moved and seconded first, Councillor Briley.
Can I move the minutes, and in moving the minutes, can I welcome members to Leigh Town Hall? We think it's the first council meeting in Leigh Town Hall for just over 40 years. In those days, of course, Leigh Council had just over 30 members, not the 75 that we have. So it's a bit of a squash tonight, but I'm sure members will cooperate with each other and we'll get on the business done tonight. Wish to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Briley, you can only raise an inaccuracy on the minutes.
That's what I'm raising.
What's your inaccuracy, Councillor Briley?
On page 8 of the document, it states at the meeting the Mayor warranted Councillor Briley about his conduct, persistent disregard and warnings of calling that word. The Mayor moved the motion that he no longer be heard. But before you made that motion, I made a comment, and I would like it on record in the minutes, please.
Could you explain what the comment was, Councillor Briley?
Yeah, I called Miss Hall Chief Executive a liar, and it's not been put in. No, I'd like it in, because it's a point of record.
I'm just asking for legal advice on this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think if Councillor Brearley is suggesting that the minutes be amended, then we just need to ask for a seconder and then just put it to the vote, Madam Mayor.
A seconder, please. I'm just moving on. All those in favour of accepting the minutes, please show. We're moving the minutes, Councillor Briley, because it hasn't been seconded.
Okay, so if you when it's on the digital recording, I'd like a copy of the digital recording from last council meeting.
All in favour of the minutes, please show. All those against? Are there any abstentions? Item 4, announcements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We felt it's more appropriate that I cover this next item. It's with deep regret that I have to refer to the sudden death of the Mayor's Consort, Terry Cullen, on the 8th of October. Terry was a fantastic support to Phil, as Julie has just said, and following her election as Mayor, he was incredibly proud of everything that she'd achieved. We've had some quite tough meetings while Phil's been the mayor, and the first person that we saw when we came out of these meetings very often was Terry, with his fantastic smile, completely, totally supportive and very, very proud of his wife. We also remember Terry and his trip to Angers with the Deputy Chief Exec and the leader, and I think it was his first trip outside of the UK, and he was a fantastic ambassador for this borough, and very, very proudly represented us over in France. Terry and Phil have been married for 45 years and two fantastic children, Trish and John. And the Mayor, Phyllis, would like to thank everybody for the very kind messages of comfort and support. I think it's incredible how Phyllis is continuing in her role without complaint and continuing very bravely. I think on Saturday, can we have a round of applause for her? Only a few weeks after her husband's death, Phyllis was out from I think 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to 10 o'clock at night, and then up for Remembrance Sunday the morning after, so an absolute stalwart of the borough. Any donations that people would like to make in memory of Terry are in aid of the new cancer care unit at Wigan Infirmary, which is this year's Mayor's chosen charity and can be forwarded to the Mayor's Secretary. And I hope that members have seen the Book of Condolences on the way into the building, which if you haven't already signed, the Mayor's asking for you to sign, please, in memory of Terry, a much-loved husband and father. I wish to extend to Phyllis and to the family of Terry the Council's deepest sympathy at this very difficult time for our Mayor. And I invite members to say a few words.
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, it is a very difficult occasion for you, and we have great sympathy. I think those who met and knew Terry knew what a great man he was. As Chief Exec said, the first thing you noticed about Terry was his smile. He was welcoming. He had a good sense of humour, and I know the family will miss him. And I say those who miss him will miss him too, and I'll miss that trip around the ship that I never got with him. I think it was a testament to yourself and to Terry that at the funeral it was well attended by not just councillors from the borough but also all the mayors of the borough, but mayors across Greater Manchester took the trouble to come and turn up and give you support and give their wishes to Terry. So I think the intention of all of us now is to give you all of our support over the next few months to make sure with you do all sorts you can get through the rest of your year and wish you well.
Thank you. Councillor Will.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of the Wigan Independent Network, we wish to send our deepest condolences to you and your family at this sad time. It's been very hard for you. Just on a personal note, we met yourself and Terry in Rochdale a couple of nights before Terry passed away when you attended a St John ambulance function. And Terry was the first person to walk up to my son Thomas to congratulate him for gathering one of the most prestigious awards St John can behold on a young cadet. And Thomas's smile from ear to ear was beaming all night to say he was so proud. He met the Mayor and the Consort of Wigan to represent his community in the way he did. And when I told him a couple of days after, when Terry passed away, he broke down in tears because he couldn't understand how a fit young man could be dragged away from his family in such a sad way. So from a personal point of view, we'll always have fond memories of Terry and yourself, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the kind comments you gave me, son, from the heart. Thank you very much.
Councillor George Farris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, we'd like to send our condolences, and we're very sorry. I didn't know Terry all that well. I didn't know him at all, apart from seeing you. I know yourself, and I think it obviously is a big shock. The condolences come not just from councillors, but from people in Standish who was asking what's happened and all that carry on, and what a shame, and it was heartfelt. Words can't help you, but if there's anything you need help in, you know I'm about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Grundy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of the Conservative group, we'd like to extend our most sincere condolences. Obviously, and we chatted about this on Friday at Andy Burnham's Veterans Dinner, it seemed only such a very short time since I'd met Terry when both you and he visited my old primary school in Lowton St Mary's, and he came across an extremely personal, likeable individual, and it came as a tremendous shock to me to find that he passed away so suddenly. As I say, I had the pleasure of meeting John on Friday at the Veterans Dinner, and I'm absolutely sure both he and Trish will do him proud in his memory on taking on his role. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Aldred.
Thank you. Sincere condolences, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to something about Terry and what it was like, really. We had the honour, as Mayor and Mayoress, being invited to the garden party, the Queen's Garden Party, and Phil and Terry came with us, as well as Lynn. And it was in July, supposed to be absolutely beautiful and boiling, and we had a hailstone size of 10p pieces. It threw it down, there was an inch of water all over the grass. We swam across to get back out of the garden party at the end of it. But I remember in the morning when he came to us and he said, he was all excited, he said, "Oh, I've saved up," and he said, and Phil's going, "Have a heard done." He said, "I've saved up, somebody's coming, it's a big surprise, will you all get down?" So we all came down, we all clapped, and Phyllis went in and had her hair done, and she looked absolutely gorgeous. And when we were on our way out, we were queuing up, there were no taxis available or anything because all the underground was shut down, so nobody could get on any trams or any, oh, it's terrible. But outside, we were all windswept, our hairs were everywhere, and I remember saying, "Flipping heck, Terry, look, you spent all that money on that hairdo, look at it." And she said, "She still looks beautiful, it doesn't matter what her hair looks like." So that's the type of chap he is, and we did nothing but agree with him. So, all the best anyway.
Thank you. And he never took a photograph of that before we went to it. Councillor Rotherham.
I don't know whether that's a good point or not. Can everybody hear me? I'd like to offer my condolences to Phil, and certainly to John and Trish. I'm sure most people will realise last year when Janet and I had little problems, Phil and Terry sat in on a number of occasions, and he made a real good impression right across Greater Manchester and all the authorities. So much so when we got back in the groove, people were asking more about you than they were asking how we were. So I'd just like to say on behalf of Janet and myself a big thank you for covering for us for those few months. Really appreciate it. And he was a good man as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Briley.
Yeah, please accept my condolences as well. I first met Terry and myself when he was newly elected as councillor in his first term of office. It was a day old, and I remember he came up to me and said, "Did I know Billy Boston?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And it was proud that he brought the gentleman from your ward who was doing such good work in, and we introduced him to Billy, and we got all the trophies out and got him stood behind. I'm hoping that was a proud moment for Terry, and thank you.
It was, thank you very much.
Thank you, members, for those kind words. May I also refer to the death of Honorary Freeman Mrs Avril Fishwick, OBE, Deputy Lieutenant, on the 28th of October 2014. Avril led a remarkable and colourful life. She was a prominent Wigan solicitor and a former chair of Wigan Health Authority and president of the RSPCA in Wigan. She was a really avid fundraiser for many high-profile causes as well, including the CT scanner appeal, and she also served as Greater Manchester's High Sheriff and Deputy Lord Lieutenant. Avril worked for military intelligence. I think she was a code breaker during the Second World War. She was Wigan born and bred, but in recent years moved to Trafford to be near her family. Avril was awarded the OBE for environmental improvement in 1996 and made honorary freeman of the Borough by this council in the year 2000. She leaves 2 daughters, Josephine and Hilary, and 4 grandchildren, and I wish to extend to the family of Avril the Council's deepest sympathy at this very difficult time. I now invite members of the Council to express their condolences for Avril.
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, you and I attended the memorial service for Avril earlier this week, and it was a splendid occasion. Very colourful, as Avril would have wanted. She was, her favourite colour was pink, and she made sure that was the colour of the I got confused, must say, when I got there, because this was in Trafford. Put through the door, who should be there but David Harrison? I didn't realise David was such a good friend of Avril's, but of course he was there in a professional capacity, because being a Wigan, she'd asked for a Wigan firm to do the arrangements, so David was doing that one. Although I need to correct a couple of things that were said here. She was actually born in Wigan. She was born in England. So anybody who's got prejudice against people from England may think that Avril Fishwick was born in Hindley. We should remember that. And she was a cook. She worked in Bletchley Park. And of course the work that she and all the others did at Bletchley Park was kept secret for many, many years after the war. But to get into Bletchley Park as a young, just recently graduated person, obviously a great achievement for Avril. She came back and worked in her father's solicitor's firm in Wigan. And they were the solicitors for Wigan Rugby League Club. And that was one of the real loves of Avril's life, was watching Wigan Rugby League. She was a huge fan, and one of the ways they managed to persuade her to move from Wigan to Trafford, because of course she could now get Sky TV, because you didn't need to miss any Wigan games. And they said, I think at the memorial service, that when Wigan were playing Saints, she couldn't watch the game until she knew Wigan were going to win. Typical Wigan, right? But even when she moved to Trafford, she never had a problem coming back to us in Wigan if she could do. And a great supporter of veterans organisations, in the sense she would come and do a lot of work for veterans organisations. She obviously she was chair of the Health Authority before I became leader, and so had a very good relationship with my predecessor, but when I became leader, Avril was never slow to give me advice, but also never slow to give me support either. So she was a great person, terrific person. I did once go to her house for dinner, and it was a Downton Abbey moment, which I won't tell you everyone here, but if you want to know, I can tell you that it was a very interesting evening's dinner. And I think we just need to remember, Madam Mayor, that all these achievements that Avril Fishwick did in the 40s, 50s and 60s were much more difficult times for women to do well. So she was battling against the prejudice against women, as we heard there. She did a superb job, and we should certainly miss her.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak?
Madam Mayor, at this point, may I ask those present to stand for a moment as a mark of respect for both Terry and Avril.
Item 2, appointment of Mayor's Consort. I would like to introduce my consort, which will be a dual role with either my son, John Cullen, or daughter, Trish Macaulay, accompanying me on mayoral engagements. Item C, North West in Bloom Awards. Following on from my report to the last council meeting, I am pleased to report that Wigan Council once again swept the board at the prestigious North West in Bloom finals in Southport, winning 20 prizes, more than any other similar borough, including 3 gold medals. Wigan Council was also the category winner for the best large city/metropolitan borough, whilst Slackley Fold, Hindley Green were awarded outstanding in the small neighbourhood category and also won the Adactus Holmes Trophy, with the Friends of Hindley Station being awarded the best railway station. Local businessman Howard Gallimore from Gallimore's Restaurant received a highly commended discretionary award. Britain in Bloom Awards. At the recent National Britain in Bloom Awards ceremony held in Bristol, the Bridges Community Group, How Bridge, were awarded a silver in the urban community category. In addition, the Shevington and District Group were awarded a gold and joint category winner in the town category, with local resident Margaret Carter being individually recognised by receiving the Royal Horticultural Society's Britain in Bloom Community Champion Award. Can I say well done to all those involved with the In Bloom Awards? Item D. A number of our care-leavers attended the Greater Manchester Awards, which were held in October at Media City, Manchester. Joe Shaw from Allerton won the overall Greater Manchester Care-leavers Inspiration Award, and congratulations go to Joe for this achievement. Item E. Can I congratulate Leigh Centurions, who have enjoyed a remarkably successful 2014. Just 2 defeats in an incredible season that saw them crowned champions of the championship. Credit must go to the coach, Paul Rowley, and his team, and we hope that they can repeat this success next year and secure a place in Super League. Item 5, Declarations of Interest. A schedule of declarations of interest has been passed around the council chamber. Are there any late declarations?
Madam Mayor, matters pertain to HS2 in Councillor Goulton's question. I had already informed the reason being HS2 impacts the building family park.
Thank you, Councillor Bromley. Blank forms for declaring late interests have also been circulated. Sorry.
Personal interest in motion born now as well this year.
Thank you, Councillor Reader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Personal interest in motion 1 as I'm employed by TFT.
Thank you. Are there any more? Blank forms for declaring late interests have also been circulated. Please ensure these are returned at the end of the meeting. Item 6. Devolution of powers to the Greater Manchester Combined Authority and transition to a directly elected mayor. We have a report on page 3 of the supplementary agenda, and can I invite the leader to speak at this point and move the recommendations of the report? Leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't intend to go through the report in detail, but obviously if any member has a question, I'll do my best to answer it. But I think this is a very exciting moment for Greater Manchester. The whole deal should be worth something like £2 billion plus for Greater Manchester. It's the only deal currently on offer anywhere in the country, and it's taken a lot of getting, but in the end, I have to say that some of the things we got, we were quite surprised about, but in the sense we got more than we achieved, and it's enabled me to go and meet George Osborne and his lair in the Treasury, which was an interesting experience in itself, and then to announce the deal. I think what I want to say, in a sense, is about the main principles. The main principles, what were being offered, and emphasise that all of the powers that were being offered are not coming from local authorities, not coming from any of this, they're coming down from central government to allow us to exercise across Greater Manchester. Really important. All of the powers that we have as a local council are not being affected by the strategic growth. The great principles of the deal, as far as we're concerned, are number one about rebalancing the economy. The economy of this country, I think, is recognised now across the board. It's London and the South East, far too strong, far too important for the way the economy goes. And we need to rebalance that, get other parts of the country moving. Each of the main political parties has this now as an objective. And so this is part of that. So in terms of achieving that rebalancing the economy, we've got powers about skills, which are really important to be able to address the skills issues that we have. You know, we're not yet actually training people for jobs that are available. We still keep training people, with all respect, to be hairdressers. And in fact, Councillor Aldrin's story, there's a limited number of hairdressers that we do need in the northwest. You can tell from me, I'm not a great supporter of that industry. But you know, we need people to actually fit what industry wants. And we now will have the powers to commission skills across Greater Manchester to actually help people get into work. Businesses will help businesses get the right support, again, not decided by Whitehall, but decided in Greater Manchester to meet the needs of Greater Manchester businesses. And of course, we're going to get this economy moving, literally, we have to improve the transport system across Greater Manchester, and that's part of this process. And one of the things that was really important in the deal was something we'd asked for many years, is actually control over buses. There's only one part of the country which control buses at the moment, and that's London. And hey, what, in London, bus patronage has risen, the only part of the country has actually gone up. But secondly, the profits of the bus companies are all profitable, but they're not as high as the profit of bus companies are in other parts of the country. So what we need to do is actually make sure we get buses running where people need them to run, where the economy needs them to run, and that will help us with our economy. The second part of the deal is about public services. We want to improve public services to make what we want. You know, we're in £22 billion worth of public spending which goes into Greater Manchester. Now, we as the local authorities control about £5 billion of that, collectively on the public services, and the rest is through agencies of government. We'll get our hands on more of that now, and we'll do it because we think we can do better, but more importantly, we convince the government that they think we can do better too. And the three main areas to mention there are, first of all, families and individuals with complex needs. At the moment, people who have fit into that category may find themselves visited by representatives of a number of agencies. Social services, children's services, health services, the police. They're all looking at different aspects of people's lives, not having a proper holistic approach. How can we get them out of the position they're in and save money? That's really important. Our Chief Executive has been leading on Greater Manchester on early years and to make sure that we get those critical, we're talking the first 2 years of people's lives. We can get people in 2 years and help them to develop language skills and so on, then they have a much better chance at school, they get a much better chance at job. And the savings they'll make partly in school, but also at the end of their lives. So it's really important to that. And the third one, and the thing that one of the things we didn't expect that we have got, is now ability to help integrate health and social care across Greater Manchester. We've done quite a lot so far across Greater Manchester, but we now have more power to do that. Because I think, as was recognised by the Chief Executive of the Health Service, Health England the other week, the Health Service does need to get more efficient if it's going to meet the potential £30 billion funding gap. And we will be a pilot in Greater Manchester to do that. So again, it's very important. So, as we knew these powers were coming on the line, I think we recognised in Great Manchester we needed to address government. The one thing we had in Great Manchester was actually a very successful combined authority, partly because it's been going for longer than any of the others, but partly because it was, in a sense, we've been working together since 1986. When Thatcher abolished the Met Councils, we'd still been working together in Greater Manchester. So in a sense of becoming a combined authority wasn't anything new. And what we've discovered, of course, now is everybody else wants to become combined authorities, but it's not enough just to be a combined authority. You've got to find ways of collaborating and working well together, and that's what we've done. But we recognise if you're taking on this new responsibility for skills, well, first of all, we want it to be successful. So we need to be able to deliver those. And, you know, we need to strengthen the way we govern. So we've been talking about that, and members have been reading about it in the press, been on the news, and so on. We talked about strengthening the combined authority by appointing a leader and then and making that elected. Well, when we came to see the Chancellor for the freedoms that we were given, for the new responsibilities for the £2 million, he did have a price, and that said, well, that office needs to be called Mayor. So we consider this. I think what I have to say really strongly is the Mayor of the Greater Manchester model is not the same as the Mayor under the London model, not even the same as the Mayor in Liverpool, who's an executive mayor, can do what he wants. Under our rules, the combined authority can control what the mayor does. If they don't like his strategy, they can stop it. And I think it's really important to recognise that the mayor will be working not directing the combined authority, we have to work with the combined authority, which will in fact be representatives from each of the 10 Greater Manchester areas. So it is a very different model from what's being offered anywhere else, and the process will be to have it on an appointed basis for a few years, because there needs to be changes in legislation. That will come through sometime in the next Parliament, and so that's the system that we're being offered. So I think the 10 leaders or the 9 leaders elected by himself all felt that, you know, we've got more from the government than we thought. We can live with this model of elected mayor because it's very different from other models, and so we agreed the other week to support the deal, and we've seen signing with the Chancellor and so on, and moving on. Some of those freedoms will happen straight away, some will need tweaks in the law, some will need new laws, and so on. So I say it's really important. It's important to recognise this is a deal not for Manchester, but for Greater Manchester, for the 10 districts of Greater Manchester. We'll all benefit if we, I'm sure we will do as an authority, make sure we will get our fair share out of this deal. So I would recommend this to Council, Madam Mayor. I hope we can support this today.
Thank you, Leader. Is this report moved and seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes wishes to speak on this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't necessarily agree with what Peter said. Do we need this?
Yeah, yes, you do.
So, okay, sorry at the back. I feel like I'm on X Factor. No. I don't necessarily agree with everything what the leader said there. I don't think it should be the leader of Admin making that decision that we should have elected mayor, or even the government. I think it should be the people of Greater Manchester that should be having a say and asking for a referendum. I don't think it bodes well for the rest of Greater Manchester, the rest of North West of England. At the same time, Manchester's getting 2 billion. How much is Merseyside getting? How much is the Wirral getting? How much is Lancashire getting? I wouldn't like to make Manchester a super state while we see the rest of the North West of England decline. There's a lot of questions to be asked, and I don't think it's more about the money. I think it's more about the effect it'll have on everybody in the northwest of England for the next 10, 15 years. It is a big change. I personally don't support elected mayor. I think the AGMA model works quite well. As Lee's already said, it's been working together since 1986, and I think that itself is a compliment to Peter being a leader. I think they work out their issues quite well. I think an elected mayor will only cloud the issue and another tier of democracy which the people don't want. And I find it really hypocritical that Peter wants this to happen, but yet he wouldn't allow the people of Atherton their own piece of democracy, and he wouldn't allow them their own town council. And I think that is inconsistent of Lord Peter Smith, and I think he needs to look himself in the mirror and say, well, if it's good for Manchester, we'll let the people of Atherton have their town council. Why not? Let's have devolution throughout Manchester, including the smaller suburbs of Ashton, Inley and Atherton. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkes. Councillor Gareth Ferris.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I want to associate myself with most of what Councillor Wilkes says. If we're going to have these significant changes going throughout the authorities in Greater Manchester and representing the people need to A, be consulted, and B, they have to ultimately say yes or no to it. If not, you don't take them along with it. If you don't take them along with it, it will fail. Next thing is the elected mayor is going to be different to the one down in London. And Councillor Smith says how that's going to be different. If we have an elected mayor, there has to be an elected mayor. But what Councillor Smith has just said is that he's beholden, or she's beholden, whoever is elected, to the other leaders. So therefore, they just become a puppet and beholden, as Councillor Smith says, to the other leaders. How can they lead when they're beholden to others? Also, if this is, and I go along with the idea of trying to create some of the principles that they're trying to achieve, and I think that's credit to where credit's due. They need to be looked at. But we really need to get the people on board, or we have to, more importantly, listen to the people of what they say ultimately, whether they want this or not. And if they don't, it doesn't go ahead. It's as simple as that. If we want to go down to the people's level, the people must choose and they must decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ferris. Councillor Briley.
Thank you, Madam. I'd like to speak. I'm very confused what Councillor Smith said about buses being controlled by the council. But Greater Manchester Buses, GMPTE, run by Greater Manchester Council. They have all the say, they have the big budgets, because I worked for them, and it was a failure then. So why is it a failure? Why is it going to be a failure now? I mean, why is it going to be a success? I mean, you've had your opportunity. They were spending money. They were putting bus shelters under bridges. And they was putting a double-decker bus on a route from Wigan to Hillstown. But they forgot to say there's an 11-foot bridge there. So they couldn't get a double-decker under an 11-foot bridge because it's only 11 foot high, a single deck. Well, they wanted to put double-deckers on. This is a Greater Manchester. You know, and like...
Councillor Brealey, is this relevant to the agenda?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. Do you want to shut me up while you keep it? Or am I allowed to speak?
Will you please stick to this agenda?
Right, it's all about the AGMA. But do we get open transparency if we go for all this? Do we get bigger say? Because Wigan Council has been paying to Greater Manchester a good number of years now, and each ward suffers from that because all the money goes to them. And now, we're talking about billions going to them, and it's like Councillor Wilkes says, when's it coming back to us? When is my ward of Ingley Green, who we have to fight for things to get done? Sorry? Come on, man. I mean, have you got something to say, Councillor? Stand up and say it. Oh, I forgot to tune Mr. Murphy and take in.
Can you just... I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to move that you're not heard again, Councillor Briley.
Because the
Because there's no
councillor
need for
said
that in here.
that. Rubbish.
Can anyone second that, please?
I'll tell the people Wigan Council runs on a budget of £1 billion a year. Not 254 million, what they say in the Borough
Councillor
Life.
Briley, you please be quiet. Can members please vote that Councillor Briley is
All the Labour grant to go on. See you in God's.
Thank you. That's carried. Are there any abstentions? Are there any? Are there any people against this, please? Right. Do any other members wish to contribute? You swore, Councillor Briley. I'm not repeating what you said, but you swore. No. We've already had a vote on this. We've already had a vote on this. This is moving on now. Does any other members wish to contribute to this? Councillor Grundy. What was your point of order, Councillor Ferris?
I completely support what you're trying to do in getting... Completely supporting what you're trying to do, wholeheartedly. But I think if we can have some consistencies in shutting other people up, we won't get to what we've just had. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
I'm going to ask our head of legal to give us some legal advice on this. There's some clear rules in our constitution governing members' conduct, and to swear in front of members of the public, to swear in front of other members very loudly like that is clearly unacceptable.
Excuse me, did I swear?
Yes, you did. We all heard it. We all heard it.
Councillor Briley, you swore, and this council has voted that you not heard again, and
Well,
that's...
I've got a copy of the recording, right? On my digital recorder. So I'll play that back to me. And if you were wrong, Madam Clerk, I would like an apology in writing. In writing, Madam Clerk.
I've been told by legal that you swore.
What did I say? What did I say?
This is the end of this.
What did I say?
Let me carry on, Tom.
What did I say?
You called him in here.
Called him what?
I'm getting legal advice on this.
There's something to do with his head and part of his anatomy.
Please, can the rest of the chamber be quiet?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there is a rule 18.3, which says if a member disregards the rulings of the Mayor by behaving improperly or offensively or deliberately obstructs council business, any member may move that the member not be heard further for the remainder of the meeting, and if seconded, the motion will be voted on without discussion.
Without discussion.
Councillor Riley, please will you be quiet and sit down?
I want an explanation.
You've just had one from legal.
Yeah, but I want to know what I said. I want to know what I said. For you to
I'm moving on now. Councillor Hodgkinson.
Could I just ask? I'm sure Councillor Brian is recording because he said about a digital recording there. I thought there was no recording to be done.
I'd like to read a letter.
He is okay to record, Councillor Sanders.
There's a judge here. The judge allowed me to record. 3 Labour councillors have been reported to that judge, and they're in contempt of court. So would you want to add to the list, yes, please?
Councillor Hodgkinson.
Madam Mayor, I'm not quite sure whether this comes on the point of order, but I didn't hear Councillor Bailey swear. I didn't hear it, and I just can't support that because I didn't hear him swear.
I'm sorry, but the council's already voted on that.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I'd wish to move things on if possible. I wish to make an amendment to Peter's motion. Is that not too late to do that? To move things on?
Yes.
Can I make an amendment then?
Yeah.
I wish to make an amendment, if that's okay. One or two people wanted to speak, so I'm sorry about that, but perhaps you can speak on the amendment. I wish to accept Peter's report, the leader of the council that is, and put an amendment to say that as long as it's the wishes of the people of Greater Manchester, including Wigan, and ask for a referendum on the whole devolution debate.
Is that seconded? I'm going to put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Does anyone else want to speak on this substantive motion? Councillor Grundy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I mean, this is exceptionally unusual, probably both for myself and Peter, that I agreed with every word that Peter Smith said. I wholeheartedly back this proposal. I think it's very important when we compare it to the previously abolished Greater Manchester Council. There are safeguards in place to prevent it turning back into that. What had happened, and this is one of the reasons why the Greater Manchester Council was abolished, effectively everyone felt that everything went to Manchester. Much as, since I'm in Leigh Town Hall, I can't resist saying that's why the people of Leigh, everyone thinks everything goes to Wigan and not to Leigh. In this instance, for example, to ensure that each borough gets a fair crack at it, for example, with the spatial strategy, that has to be unanimously adopted. And it's not fair to say, as Garrett has said, that the mayor would be a puppet of the combined authority. That's not true. The combined authority is there to hold the mayor to account, to stop them acting arbitrarily as an executive mayor. There is still debate around some of the issues around what powers are going to go there. It is beyond debate, however, that there will be an elected mayor and the money will be devolved down from Whitehall to the local authorities. And it's important that there's an elected mayor because that's the democratic accountability. It's no good just changing where the civil servant sits behind a desk if we move the civil servant from behind a desk in Whitehall to behind a desk in Manchester. There's got to be democratic accountability for this £2 billion that's moving downwards. I am absolutely behind this. I think it's a good idea. We will see how it develops over the next couple of years. But I'll tell you what, there was one thing I said that Gary said that I absolutely agree with. In discussions with the Conservative group leaders across Greater Manchester, I said, absolutely, devolve down from London to Greater Manchester. But I also said, and devolve down from individual boroughs down to wards and communities and towns within the boroughs. If we're going to do devolution, let's do it properly. Let's give local people more of a say in how this money is spent. Some of those budgets, we can't do that. It's a strategic budget. But it's important to see the devolution down to the lowest level, make the decisions at the level where people are most comfortable with them being made. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Alderman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is an opportunity we've all been asking for a very, very long time. For years now, we've been saying that things have been dictated to us by Whitehall, civil servants detached from local people and local choices and local needs. Yes, it's new, and with anything new, there'll be some changes, perhaps won't like, there'll be some changes we will like. But for me, £500 million worth of a skills budget, that we get the opportunity to decide and influence where that will go. Now, if you consider what's happened in the past, when we've had EMA stripped away from some of our youngest people in this borough by a Tory government, and others. When you consider that you have a skills funding agency that doesn't adapt to local and regional needs, do they listen to us? No, they don't. So we have a system where skills and funding and the agencies that direct it to them are all dictated centrally. We will have the opportunity, along with the economic regeneration that it will bring, to influence what that will do for the future, our apprenticeships and our young people in this borough. And we simply have to grab hold of this opportunity and make the best of it. And I do believe that the positive side of that will be for the future, the young people in this borough who have been disenfranchised by an economy that's been stripped away through austerity. So I will welcome this skills budget, and I'll be knocking on Peter's door saying, what are we doing with it? How are we going to influence it? When is it going to take place? There's lots of questions, just like everybody has. But as far as Atherton's concerned, their devolution vote, they've had 2 bites of the cherry, both of them have been inconclusive. So as far as that's concerned, it's an old chestnut to keep bringing up. They've had umpteen opportunities, they keep voting it, they don't want it. And the other thing is we need to think about is this. We will have more opportunity, more muscle, because of economies of scale. They're likely to listen to a bigger region than they are to a little tiny person. So we'll get the opportunity to influence the whole of Greater Manchester, and the likelihood is the surrounding areas will probably benefit from it. So I'm going to support this, because I think this will be good for the people of Wigan, especially the young people of Wigan. Thank you very much.
Leader, would you like to sum up on this one, please?
Thank you, Madam Harwood. Can I thank most colleagues for the contribution always got anyway, so we don't need to contribute. Councillor Brunel's comments, but I didn't realise he worked for GM buses, no one was a failure. But we're not taking over and running buses. We're franchising the current operators and making sure they're more answerable to where the people to where buses ought to run to, rather than where they can simply judge and make those profits. I was talking to somebody the other day who said, often what happens is, of course, they'll run buses during the daytime where they think there's a big profit, but come 6 o'clock, the bus route will stop. So people who use the bus in the daytime are stuck about getting home and need to make sure that kind of anomaly doesn't continue. Quite frankly, the answer to the first major point Councillor Wilkes made was, I don't care actually about the rest of the North West, what they get up to. We've earned this by the hard work we've done in Greater Manchester. We're ready for devolution, and we want to move it on. I'm not stopping anyone else getting the same devolution, but they've got to show they've got the capacity to deliver, and quite frankly, unfortunately, they're not there. But I'm also quite pleased that if we can get Greater Manchester, which is the biggest economy, bigger than Wales as an economy, if we can get that moving, get it working well, then of course the benefits for that don't just remain within the boundaries of Greater Manchester. All those areas that attach to it, particularly East Lancashire, they have actually probably more in common with Greater Manchester and get more than they do from Preston and places like that. So I think it'll work, and Merseyside are going to get their act together, quite frankly. They've not been too good at that in the past, and let's hope we can do it. I think, we saw it in the summer as we approached the referendum in Scotland about whether they remain part of the UK or become independent. But people actually began to think about devolution, not just in Scotland, the relationship between Scotland and the rest of the UK, but the relationship between places in England and London, because we are the most centralised country in Western Europe in terms of the way we deliver. And the fact that Scotland feels detached from London, Wales feels detached from London, we also feel detached from London. As Councillor Howell just said, it's not for a bunch of civil servants in Whitehall who live in Surrey and travelling to London, on the trains, and no wonder London gets 7 times per person more money on transport than we do in the Northwest, because they use those trains. But it's to make sure that they understand What is it that we need, that local businesses need, to get young people into good work? We don't, you know, I'm pleased unemployment's come down, but I don't want to see people going to 0 hours work and no future. We want people to get good jobs which will help them in the future, and that's hopefully what we'll do. I think devolution is an idea that's come. It's recognised by all of the main political parties. They all actually have a very similar platform, and when we thought about whether we needed to move on to the mayoral model, we certainly checked what the Labour Party might do if they were in power, and they said they want an elected office too. So it is crossroads. One thing I do take the point is, you know, what do people think? Well, the mayor of Liverpool's never done to referendum, you know, didn't have one in Liverpool. So they don't have to have a referendum, it's part of the rules. They do in some places. But I think if you suddenly said to people in Greater Manchester, you look at this package, you've got a copy here, if you pass that round to everyone in Wigan and say, what do you think about this? Well, in principle, people might say it's a good idea, or say it's a bad idea. But to judge this in detail, because it's a very complex deal for people, they wouldn't really have the capacity to understand what it is. And that's why we want to do the interim process of having an appointed mayor first, so that in 3-4 years' time, when that position is elected, people will be able to judge, has working across Greater Manchester, using the powers, actually done something for me and my family. That's what we want to do. We want them to be positive about that, and so that will be the time to do it. So I hope Council will support this motion. This is very important. I stress again, it's powers coming down to Wigan from central government, not anything coming from Wigan onwards. You know, it is really any idea about moving to different levels with our powers. That's a question not for this issue, but we can debate that on other times. But I said this is a really key thing. We're the pioneers in the country if we can get this done. I think it's really important. Will be good. Not for me, it's not, I'm not doing this for some kind of self-aggrandizement. It's about what we can do to improve the lives of people right across Greater Manchester. And I'll move very forward.
All those in favour of accepting the report, please show. All those against? Are there any abstentions? Yeah.
It's constant in the same direction, the same sound. I don't know if it's an echo in the yeses or
I do think Councillor Murphy needs to be reprimanded, Madam Mayor. He's sniggering at my decision to abstain from voting. I'm a friend. I feel that's offensive, Madam Mayor. You know, he sat there with a smirk on his face, laughing at my decision not to vote on quite a serious issue here. And I think you need to treat him like you treat Councillor Riley. I think you need to just silence him or warn him, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry to say that.
I haven't heard Councillor Murphy, but please can I ask that you do be quiet if you are speaking.
Can I move that he's not heard no longer?
He hasn't spoken to me yet.
I thought any member could move that.
I'm taking legal advice on this.
Yes, any member, sorry Madam Mayor, here we go. Any member can move a motion that a member be not heard further, but only after the Mayor has given a warning to the member with regard to his conduct. Because the Mayor's not given such a warning, then members can't put a motion like that forward.
Moving on to item 7A, changes to committee places. There is a vacancy on Licensing and Regulation Committee for a non-group member. Because neither of the members are present, I'm moving on to the next item. Item 7B, appointment of local authority representative governors. The Council is requested to approve the nominations for governor vacancies set out on page 24 of the report and the reappointments set out on page 27. Is this recommendation moved and seconded?
Move, Madam Mayor. Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Leader, do you wish to speak on the item? No. Do any other members wish to contribute? All those in favour of accepting the recommendation for Governor appointments, please show. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That vote is carried. Item 7C, casual vacancy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Owing to the resignation of Councillor Joy Susan Birch on the 3rd of October 2014, there is a casual vacancy for the Douglas ward and the by-election takes place tomorrow.
Thank you. Item 7D, appointment of honorary alderman. I wish to report that the meeting to confer the title of honorary alderman on Mr John O'Neill has been deferred until a later council meeting due to the refurbishment works to the Wigan Town Hall. Item 8, there are no policy or budget framework items. Item 9, questions and comments on the deliberations of Cabinet and committees. Councillor Wilkes has submitted 2 questions and 1 comment as set out below. Councillor Wilkes has a question on minute 26, deal for adult social care of the Cabinet, held on the 16th of October 2014. Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to ask a question on this minute. I find it hard to understand why this council is closing so many adult day centres which provide priceless respite for so many vulnerable adults and carers in the borough. We plan to support the investment of multi-million pounds in Wigan and Leigh's money into the town centres. Why can we not invest this money into these invaluable community assets?
I invite the leader to respond if he so wishes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, apologies to members and blame Councillor Pam Stewart for this. She very kindly, when I came in, gave me a lozenge for my throat, which I took the opportunity to have just after the plastic bag, and I'm still not got rid of it.
Apologies, sir.
Apologies, sir. I'm sorry the council was asked this question this way, because I think there are 2 major reasons why this is happening. First of all, it's actually a change of approach. Simply to put people in an adult into centres and day centres is really a policy of the 1960s and 70s. What we want to do is move to a more modern setting where people have a choice about what they do, where they go, how they dealt with it. And we feel we can do that. We're not actually, as he implies, closing vast numbers of centres or two going, but we are thinking about doing it in a different way that meets what people actually want to happen rather than actually do it. Let's remember the famous case where somebody had been going to a day centre, and when we gave them a personalised budget, they wanted a season ticket to Wigan. That was much more important to them so let's do what people want rather than simply that. But there will be places for them to go. Not all of them run by the council, some are run by independent bodies that will support. But it's important, as I say, to give people choice. But of course, it's not happening, and that we want to move in this direction, I think, anyway. But it's not happening against the background that none of us know. We're in a situation of what Johnson likes to call austerity, what we like to call cuts. All the time, our budgets are going down. Some members may have seen the reports on the TV this evening about what's happening in Manchester City Council. We're not at that level of cuts, thank goodness, but because we've taken some hard early decisions, but we're still having to make cutbacks. So we've not just only got to give people one, we've got to actually do it with a smaller and smaller budget. So, let's not forget that this is the background. I'm not sure why he's taken against the investments in the town centres and saying this is largely revenue spending on centres. That is a one-off capital spending. What we hope it will do, of course, is to bring new jobs, new employment opportunities into our major town centres, and sure that's good for everyone.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Gary Wilkes has a question on minute 27, Highways Asset Management Plan, with the Confident Places Scrutiny Committee, held on the 15th of October 2014. Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I need to give some reassurances to the people of the borough that this council will not make plans to turn off streetlights without going to public consultation first. I have concerns that in the interest of saving money, this council, if it goes ahead with turning off streetlights, will compromise road safety and jeopardise personal safety in our streets. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I invite the... Oh, sorry. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can confirm that the current council policy does not support switching off streetlights, and there is no proposal to change this approach. Where lights may be considered to be only operating for parts of the night, such as in parks or open space footpaths, local ward members were fully consulted on these proposals. Additionally, at the Places Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Sam Murphy suggested that the use of movement sensors and lighting in such areas, and the street lighting team are following this up and will report back to the committee in due course. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes has a comment on minute 29, Employment Skills Strategy of the Confident Places Scrutiny Committee, held on the 15th of October 2014. Councillor Wilkes.
Madam Mayor. When will this council succeed in attracting a major investor in our town? The promise of the Chinese investment over £25 million is just a distant memory. The people of Wigan and Leigh have the appetite to provide the skills and experience to any investor in the country. We just need this council to deliver the tools and the means to support the people of the borough. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I invite Councillor Molyneux, portfolio holder for regeneration, to respond if you so wishes.
I certainly do, Madam. I could do a simple answer saying I don't know, Gary, couldn't I? But I'm going to tell you what I do know. What I do know is yesterday, for example, the planning committee approved a planning application for Wigan Town Centre with £60 million worth of investment into Wigan, and also created in the region of 400 jobs, and that's not including the construction side of it. I also know that last month that we had the biggest business expo in the north of England, one of the best supported business expos in the country, and that attracted people from not just all over the country, but from all over the world. We had visitors from Pakistan, from America, from Australia, all interested in Wigan. And what I do know is that we've got £31 million worth of investment planned for the infrastructure of this borough, but certainly our businesses expand and create, because that's something that we want to do as an authority. I also know that the planning committee will soon be discussing a planning application for the biggest industrial building that it's ever had to deal with, 400 square feet. And this is about a company that wants to stay in Wigan, but won't just stay in Wigan and retain the 130 odd jobs it has, but look more than double that, because it wants to be in Wigan. So I do know there's a lot of interest in Wigan, and this council continues time and time again to attract business, to retain business, and that's what's most important. I thought about all the other places I've been to, and one that stuck out to me, and some of my colleagues know about it, was Smart. I was going to say it takes the biscuit, but Terry knows it doesn't take the biscuit, it takes the banana. I recently visited the most up-to-date and biggest banana ripening plant, possibly in the country, possibly in Europe. And this is about a company that chose Wigan. It had been established in one of our neighbouring authorities. It had been there for many, many years, but it wanted to be in Wigan. And it ripens, I smiled and laughed. In fact, the guy showed me round, said he hated bananas. I thought the same thing. Because they ripen over 1 million bananas a week. And it operates 365 days a year.
Now that has brought its existing workforce with it, but intends to more than treble its workforce over the next few years in Wigan. And rather surprisingly, where is it? It's in Councillor Wilkes' ward, in Bryn. So it just shows, Gary, it's happening on your doorstep. I certainly know the interest shown that people want to be in Wigan and invest in Wigan and want to bring business in. And we as a town, and we as a council, will always support and promote that. It's not something we've sat back on, because we know how important it is. And I think even tonight's debate on the Greater Manchester issue shows you how important training and skills are for our young people here in this borough. And I'd like to see the day when everybody in Wigan can actually say, I got training and I can provide the skills that are required, because that keeps changing in the workplace as well. But we're working hard, along with our colleagues in Greater Manchester, to make sure that Wigan is one of the places where people want to do business. I believe in that, the council believes in that, and believe you me, the movers and groovers in the business world also believe in that. So Gary, I can't tell you when the next big investment is. We will keep chasing, and it may even drop on the table tomorrow. But people are continuing to want to invest and bring businesses to Wigan. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Davis has submitted a comment on minute 24, the Youth Parliament, of the Children and Young People Scrutiny Committee, held on 14th of October 2014. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to say a few words to thank the Youth Cabinet and Parliament members of Wigan for their outstanding work and achievements they do, and the role they played when the team shadowed local councillors of this borough in their own wards. Wigan's Youth Cabinet is a group of young people aged 11 to 19 who meet to campaign for change on behalf of the young people of Wigan and Leigh. They are representatives from across the borough and are members of the UK Youth Parliament. Over the last 12 months, Wigan's Youth Cabinet's achievements have gone from strength to strength. In February, over 7,000 people from across the borough voted for the Cabinet to be members of the Youth Parliament. They have raised awareness around mental health, supporting groups against bullying, challenging discrimination and bringing people together. In July, they held a question time event with Lisa Nandy MP and Julie Illing MP, and over 30 young people quizzed the panel about issues on children's services, childcare, transport, housing, homelessness and much more. In August, an opportunity for the first time came for the youth group to shadow a local councillor and learn from the experiences that this was to offer for our young people, and also hope that our councillors would benefit from this programme. Well, Madam Mayor, I can honestly say that the shadowing was a great experience and success, and by working alongside our youth cabinet and youth workers across our wards, a big thank you goes to every one of them. On Friday the 14th of November, that's this Friday, 300 members of the UK Parliament, which Wigan members will take part, will be at the House of Commons in a debate chaired by the Speaker of the House, the Right Honourable John Bercow MP, and it will be televised on BBC Parliament. So again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words on Wigan's Youth Cabinet and their team of youth workers, and wish them all the best in their future achievements. But can I finish from a quote from a member of the Youth Cabinet, Grace Thompson, which I had the honour to work with. I think for many people there is still a perception that young people are just not interested in politics, but it's not the case. Young people really do care about what happens, especially when it comes to their own local area and town. And I totally agree. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
I invite the leader to respond if he so wishes. Oh, sorry, Councillor Platt.
I'd just like to welcome Councillor Davies's comments and obviously wholeheartedly agree with everything that he said. The Youth Cabinet and Parliament do fantastic work in connecting with the whole of the community, and it's something that we should be proud of. Obviously, you know, what Councillor, just echo what Councillor Davies has said. I know some of them are here this evening, so they can take the thanks and take it forward, which is fantastic. Again, obviously, it just widens their knowledge and understanding of how local government works and how democracy works as well. So thank you. Thank you, Councillor Davies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Could I invite the members of the Youth Parliament to come to the front, please?
Morning everyone, thanks for giving me the opportunity this evening. Also thank you for letting us... I'll start again, sorry about that. Firstly, I want to thank you all for inviting myself and two of the youth workers who are with me this evening. Being with the Wigan and Leigh Youth Cabinet has been a great success for me, as I've been with them for the last few years. Please forgive me, I'm very nervous. I've learned great confidence in the Wigan and Leigh Youth Cabinet. I've managed to build very good connections with all the council workers and including 3 of my councillors in the Shevington ward. I just wanted to thank... Sorry everyone. I just wanted... Are you sure? I just wanted to thank, on behalf as a resident for Shevington and also a member for Wigan and Leigh Cabinet, I just wanted to thank Councillor Edwardson Crosby and Councillor Collins for the great time I've had with them on the award. I did enjoy learning about how a councillor works and also engage with the community. I did hear from the from Madam Mayor earlier this evening that I am really proud of Shevington getting the first gold medal for my area. I am still happy to support Wigan and Leigh Youth Cabinet, and I'm very proud to be a member for all the young people in the Wigan and Leigh borough. So I just want to thank you all, including the councillors who took part with the other of my other colleagues in Youth Cabinet, and I really look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thanks very much.
Because you've just landed yourself a job in the depot, I've heard. So congratulations on that. Thank you. I now invite the leader to sum up if he so wishes. No, she's done. Yeah. Councillor Holton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Considering the recent report by David Higgins regarding the concerns with the proposed HS2 route and depot, will the Council now listen to the people of Wilton and withdraw its written statement of support for HS2 in its current form?
I now invite the leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Short answer is no. The reason, of course, is that HS2, as the Conservative government recognises, brings huge economic benefits to the north of England. We need to support the jobs it will do, and particularly we get the depot in Wigan. That will be good quality jobs that we need in the borough. The appointed councillor Lewis has said so. We are arranging meetings with David Higgins to continue a dialogue with him about the work that HS2 have done so far, to make sure that Wigan just have a massive benefit from this thing. It is about making benefits. I'd reckon, I don't normally recommend reading to members, but the council wants to, this is an historic thing. I recommend the Dickens novel Dombey and Son. Because Dombey and Son is about the building of the London to Birmingham Railway, which of course if you come out of Euston, it goes right through Camden Town. And you imagine it split the community in Camden Town, caused great controversy at the time when they were building it. But where would we be if those people didn't have the courage to go on to build that railway line to link London with the rest of the country? You know, unfortunately, if we're going to get good transport links, there will be some people who suffer, but the vast majority of people, both in Wigan and in this country, will benefit from HS2.
Item 10, notices of motion. This motion has been submitted by Councillor Bradburn, and I would remind him that he does not need to read out his motion as it is set out on page 32 of the agenda. Councillor Bradburn.
Madam Mayor.
We'll have to declare an interest.
Yes, Councillor Stewart.
Madam Mayor, may I seek legal advice, please?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, myself, Councillor Bradbury, Councillor Hodgkinson and Councillor Loudon are all members of Atherton Business Partnership. We attend meetings and we represent the businesses within Atherton. Do I have to leave? Do we have
I'll just get legal advice.
Thank you. I've done it, I think.
Madam Mayor, it's a matter for each member to decide whether or not they need to declare an interest. If a member is on the board of a group which is set up to sort of promote public debate, public interest, etc., then if on the management committee of that group, then they may need to declare a personal interest. But if they're not on the management group, if they're just management committee, if they're just in a group, then that's fine. You don't need to declare personal interest. But to go on then to decide whether or not you have a prejudicial interest, which will stop you taking part in the debate, you will only have that if you or your group will be financially affected by the actual decision which is the motion's proposal.
Councillor Bradbury, you need to move this motion, and I need it seconded.
Is that been seconded, Madam Mayor?
It's not been seconded yet.
Right. I move the motion.
Is this motion seconded? Do any other members wish to Oh, sorry.
No, I've not get rid of the motion. You've said that the motion is as read, but it isn't read as far as the public's concerned, because they don't know what the motion is. So the public needs to know what the motion is, as well as the members. So I'm going to read the motion.
The motion's been submitted.
It's been submitted, yes. But the point is the public haven't heard it. Right. This council views with concern the traffic chaos being caused by the construction of the new infrastructure to facilitate the guided busway in the town centres of Leigh, Atherton, Tilsley, not to mention the disruption to commuters in the area. The footfall in Atherton has drastically reduced, and traders are reporting up to a 35% drop in trade caused by the construction work, reducing the car parking spaces on the car park. This is a case of all pain and no gain, as the busway will do nothing to improve the future of visitors in Atherton. In fact, it will achieve the exact opposite, attempting to make it easier for shoppers to get to Manchester. I call on this council to compensate all businesses in the area who've suffered losses due to this ill-conceived project, and apologise to commuters for their disrupted journeys and make every effort to address their concerns. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is this motion seconded? Do any other members wish to contribute? Councillor Wilkes.
Madam Mayor, you may find this amazing, but I wish to make an amendment to that motion, if I would, please, if that's allowed.
Can you read out the amendment, please?
I will, Madam Mayor. Following over 97% of the 600 residents who attended the consultation event on Saturday, the 8th of November 2014, in Fred Longworth High School, being opposed to the Leigh Manchester guided busway, I propose that all further work. I propose that all further work on this ill-conceived scheme be halted immediately, and request a judicial review to be established on 4 points. Point number 1: why is this bus guided? Why is the busway guided? That should be. Why is the guided busway? Why is the bus being guided? Why is the busway guided when all the pinch points at bridges have been removed as they've been demolished? Point number 2: why does the guided busway cross very busy roads which will cause unacceptable delays to commuters in the future, and a danger to vulnerable pedestrians who need to cross at times of intersections with a bus every 3.75 minutes. That's 3 3/4 minutes. Point number 3: why is the 7-kilometre Leigh Manchester guided busway costing over £9.28 million per kilometre when the 25.1 kilometre Cambridgeshire guided busway cost £4.6 million per kilometre? And finally, point number 4: why were the public not consulted in 2009 when it was clear that over 90% of them didn't want this busway scheme to go ahead?
Thank you, Councillor Wilkes. This doesn't sound like an amendment, it sounds like a new motion, and I do need legal guidance on this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is a rule of procedure which requires that notices of motion have to be submitted 2 weeks before the meeting, and in this case, Councillor Bradbury quite rightly put his motion in 2 weeks before the meeting. Because of that requirement to put motions in advance, we need the members need to consider whether or not this is truly an amendment to Councillor Bradbury's motion, or actually, in reality, it's a new motion. Although the proposed amended motion is regarding the same subject matter, namely the Leigh guided busway, there is nothing of the original motion in the proposed amended motion. The original motion calls upon the council to compensate all the businesses in the area who have suffered losses due to the project. The proposed amended motion calls for all further work on the scheme to be halted immediately and a request for a judicial review. These are 2 entirely different conclusions. Therefore, my recommendation to you, Madam Mayor, is that the proposed amendment negates the original motion and is not competent for debate. I suggest, therefore, Madam Mayor, that you invite members to continue speaking on Councillor Bradbury's original motion.
Right, we're back to the original motion from Councillor Bradbury. Does anyone else wish to speak on this motion? Councillor Walker.
Yeah, a couple of points. One of clarity. Just want to be clear, the 282 bus service through Atherton is probably one of the most important bus services certainly in our borough. But clearly it goes through the town and it causes traffic problems. So perhaps we better pack that in on the logic of this, because that's the only logic I can follow there. But secondly, I just want a point of simple clarification, because my understanding, and it's not difficult because I've heard it myself on the street by Councillor Bradbury, is that he brought the guided busway to Atherton. So if that was the case, why is he now calling? Were you there when he was telling everyone in the street? Because I was. And I tell you, that's what he claims that he did. So perhaps he could clarify why he's now putting motions condemning it when in the first place he claimed the glory of getting it. Please clarify in your response, Councillor Bradbury. I look forward to that.
Do any other members wish to speak first, Councillor Bradbury? Yes, correct. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, the statement that Councillor Walker made then was totally inaccurate. There's no way I have ever supported the building, ever wanted it to come to Atherton. And so I just don't understand where he gets this information from, and it's a pack of lies.
Do any other members wish to speak on this? Councillor Leigh. Councillor Rampling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. Can I just comment on this when Councillor Bradbury says he may be against the general one, but we went on a site visit with the officers and they were explaining to us where they were putting yellow lines, how they were working with residents to achieve and work with the guided busway. On that meeting, Councillor Bradbury, if I'm not wrong, actually agreed with every place they were putting the double yellow lines and also said to the officers that it was well done. So if he's against it, can I please say, was I on the same site visit?
Is it the same point of the personal?
I have never been on a site visit anywhere.
It was. We were on a regulation site visit. Councillor Talbot was the councillors. And I'm sorry, but I'm telling the truth. He did support and said to the officers that it was well done and that they'd done a good job of where they were putting the markings. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Rampling. Do any other members wish to speak? Councillor Gareth first.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. Although it doesn't affect me or any of my constituency, because we're on the other side, what I find very interesting in this, given that I work in Manchester, that somebody that lives in Atherton and works in the same office just a few desks away from me has to set off 45 minutes before I leave in Standish to get into the centre of Manchester. It's ill-conceived, it's not wanted from people, and what I hear and seen on the social media sites, the people of Tilsley should be heard. And from what I can hear in Standish, it's loud and clear. Scrap the bus lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor First. Is any other
Councillor Fairhurst, I'm a Tilsley resident, so I completely understand where everybody's coming from with regards to the disruption. Children are late for school, people are late for meetings. We get that, we really get that. But it is untrue to say that nobody wants this busway. I'm portfolio holder for children and young people, and the biggest issue they face is transport issues. The Youth Cabinet, they've surveyed young people within this area, and their biggest bugbear is that they can't link to resources that we've got in our community. We've got fantastic community resources. We've got fantastic resources in Leigh, Atherton and Tilsley, and it's about connecting them to these resources. Councillor Bradbury, you did say to me when I became portfolio holder that you were a champion of children and young people, and on that basis, champion what they want. They need these links. It's not just about getting to Manchester, It's about connecting our communities. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
To speak on this. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I mean, I just want to say that, getting into Manchester, driving north is stressful enough anyway. The number of cars on the road is enormous, and if we can attract some people off the road to a viable alternative, that will improve the experience for everybody concerned. Some disruption during the construction of major infrastructure projects is unavoidable. The guided busway is a Transport for Greater Manchester-led project, and Wigan Council is working hard with local residents and with the local councillors to minimise disruption for residents and businesses. The guided busway will improve the footfall to the town centres of Leigh, Avril and Tyldesley, as well making it a lot easier to access the job opportunities in Manchester and Media City. Access to the main Manchester hospitals and universities will also be made easier. If people can gain employment in the local areas, they'll have more money to spend with the local businesses, and everybody will benefit. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak on this minute. I just want the council to listen to people of Atherton and Tyldesley and the surrounding areas and the local businesses. I was at a recent rally and a lot of people were angry about the disruption, which is understandable, and I share Councillor Platt's comments that, yeah, it's in about connecting the communities, but quite clearly the majority of people didn't want that upheaval. They couldn't understand why a guided busway would go the opposite direction down a one-way street. These things need to be talked to. And for instance, there was 600 people that attended a local meeting on Saturday. Andy Burnham had to get out of bed early to address his concerns. I mean, at the end of the day, that in itself speaks volumes when an MP is going to turn out at the weekend to represent the people of Leigh. I just hope the council and Andy Burnham listens to what their concerns are. Quite rightly so. I don't think we can stop the guided busway. I really don't, and I think we've lost that fight. We need to listen to the people of Tyldesley and Atherton who are facing the pain at the moment. When I was in the town centre 2 weeks ago, the traffic was horrendous. You couldn't cross the road, there was clearly issues, and that's before they started digging up the centre of Tyldesley. It needs to be addressed. And you're right, you can all cast stones at one another across the chamber. Do we need it? It's coming whether we like it or not. We need to get the best deal for the community. We need to listen to their concerns and carry on with what we've got. We welcome the investment. I think it's a fantastic chance to link communities, but people aren't listening to the community, and that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Leader. Councillor Grundy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, this is an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, we had Andy Burnham out on this meeting on Saturday, standing there in front of an angry crowd, ready to lay waste to the place. He goes, "We'll listen to you. We're going to have another consultation and listen to what you have to say." And yet, we get to this meeting and he's saying, "We've got to have it. It's a good thing." Right? Because I can tell you now what the result of the consultation is going to be. It's going to be, we don't want it. We don't want it at all. And yet, already we know what's going to happen. You're going to do it anyway. What an absolute farce. What an absolute farce. You know, the fact that all of these issues were raised again and again and again during scrutiny when it was being talked about. And then we had people saying, "Oh no, a load of nonsense, best thing since sliced bread." Well, we told you exactly what would happen. We told you exactly what would happen. Sure enough, it's gone pear-shaped in exactly the same way we said it was going to be pear-shaped. It's not known as the misguided busway for nothing. And I'll tell you what's going to happen now. I'll make this prediction. You're going to hold this consultation. You're going to hold it, and it's going to report just after the elections, when all your seats are safe, and then you're going to do it anyway. I tell you, it's no way to run a major project. It's no way to run a council. You should have listened to people in the first place. And the only thing I'm going to say is, let's start a betting pool on how long it's going to take for it to fail, and how many years it's going to be before we rip it all out again. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
about local businesses. So we've now gone on to the guided busway. So if we're talking about the busway, I'd like to have my say about it.
After Councillor Marshall.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have one meeting, please? Councillor Marshall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. Firstly, I'd just like to say that the councillors have been working for the public, as much as you say they haven't. We called a meeting in early September with all the parties, including Andy Burnham, TFGM, Balfour Beatty and council officers. Although some say they called it, they didn't. It took a while, we got the meetings, we sat down, we discussed it and we insisted that changes were made. So to sit back and say that the councillors have done nothing, I think is a bit of an insult. I work in Manchester city centre and I have done for 25 years. I've seen over the years how the traffic has become worse. Something has to be done. It's a busway, it's a guided busway, it's a TFGM scheme, it is not Wigan. And I think blaming Wigan and Wigan councillors is wrong. And we are working with the people.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Malcolm. I've had advice. It's the leader, and then I'm going to get Councillor Bradbury to sum it up, because this is going on.
That's wrong. He has more information than I. He has more information. He's on the chair as well. He should be allowed to speak.
Right, leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, as usual, been an interesting debate, and I think that we seem to have. I want to support what Councillor Marshall said, because I know the amount of work that local councils have done in calling meetings. And she reminded everybody of the simple fact: this is not a Wigan Council scheme. It's a Transport for Greater Manchester scheme, which we're helping to implement. So, any issues from that? I know Councillor Grundy got himself over there on Saturday morning to go to the meeting, but I think if he looks at what was said, he's obviously having a good time there with his colleague. If you look at what was said, the consultations on the route of the guided busway, not upon the principle of the guided busway. And if people took the wrong impression of the meeting, then that is the case. We have that from TFGM this week. What they're going to do, so they're going to re-look at the way the bus will be routed into Tilsley and consult on that. But I want to say, some people think this busway has suddenly come out and never been consulted. I went to a consultation meeting, and I know Councillor Loudon did as well, with the chairman of the Transport, Greater Transport, Councillor Joe Clark, on this particular transport scheme. Joe Clark died in 2000. So those consultations were taking place in the 1990s about the busway. So this has been on public record for a long period of time. It's not suddenly come out of the woodwork floor. So, you know, we want to, every time we get an issue that seems to affect Allerton, Councillor Bradley says trading hours has gone down by 35%. Well, every year it's gone down by 35%. What's left? 35% gone, 35%. What is left? And the way that people say what Councillor Bradley has been and said and done, it reminds you of that story about the point about the cat called McCavity. Whereas McCavity is not there. Just sounded like Councillor Bradley. Whatever was happening, Councillor Bradley was never there, was never part of any meeting. Although because he is a member of CFGM, we can take this up with CFGM. The problem with this motion, of course, is it's entirely wrong-headed. I'm not surprised about that, are we? It's wrong-headed because it's not the job of this council. If there is any compensation to be done, it's a compensation by those who promoted the scheme, namely Transport for Greater Manchester, not ourselves. So I think, Madam Mayor, that all members will not agree to this particular motion and get on some steps.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Bradbury, do you wish to sum up?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think one of the things to point out to Peter Smith is that this is not a cross-party scheme such as Metrolink and any other schemes within TFGM. This is a totally Labour-led project, only ever supported by Labour councillors. And well, you shake your head, that's a fact. Always supported by Labour councillors.
For the point of information, this is supported by Greater Manchester, which includes Conservatives and Liberals. So it's not true again.
It isn't supported by any other than Labour councillors. Well, you say that it is true.
Councillor Roberts, will you just sum up, please, because I need to take this to the vote.
I'd sum up that the people, when they vote on this motion, they should think about who voted them in. And they should think what their residents want for their communities. And not go along party lines, whipped along the party lines, and just vote exactly the way Peter Smith wants you to vote. Thanks very much.
Right, I'm taking this to the vote now. Those in favour of Councillor Bradbury's motion, please show. Those against? Are there any abstentions? Thank you. That vote is carried. I apologise, Leader. It's gone on so long. It's not carried.
Sorry to interrupt you, Madam Mayor. I wish to move a procedural motion under 20.1 of the Constitution, calling for Rule 9.1 to be suspended to enable me to move my motion and look for a seconder, if successful, Madam Mayor. I do apologise on my part that it was an administration error. I didn't ask my group for a seconder for my motion, and I look towards the Council to have a meaningful debate on the future investment to Leigh and Wigan town centres. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do you have a seconder for this procedure? Right. Item 2. This motion has been submitted by Councillor Wilkes. However, it was not competent for debate because it was not signed by or endorsed by email by one other member by the deadline. So we're going to vote on the procedural motion. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? The procedural motion has failed, so we cannot debate it. That concludes the meeting. Thank you.